Good morning to you, Alastair.
Happy Valentine's Day, Julia.
Do you know what? There would have been a time in my life that would have been a beautiful thing to hear, Alastair. When I was young and impressionable, a political reporter in the streets of power, corridors of power. But
now that I'm a has-been.
Yeah, that's it. It's all gone now. It's all gone downhill, Alastair.
Yeah,
now, come
never
on.
mind.
Boris Johnson wants to bring us all together. Do you think there will ever come a time when the country will reunite again on the issue of Brexit?
I don't know, but I think it's hard to imagine a worse person to try to lead on this. I've read all the pre-briefing from Boris Johnson's office, and I don't think there's any self-awareness there at all of just how much he is seen as the person who has helped make the country so divided in the first place. And look, I agree that there's something very difficult on the question of democracy about refusing to live by a referendum result. But, democracy is also about politicians telling the truth. And this is the guy who lied about the health service, who lied about Turkey. And also, you have to understand, it's June the 23rd, 2016 we had the referendum.
Long time ago now.
This series of speeches is like the cabinet going through public therapy. They still don't have an agreement on what their strategy is.
Do we know yet what the Labour Party... I mean, I'm with you. I think the Cabinet are being absolutely hopeless. But does the Labour Party have a official policy yet? Because I've yet to work out what it is.
No, and look, I actually did a tweet just before coming on, Julia, saying that I'd be happy to give up all my slots on the radio today if people would take the young guy who was on Sky yesterday, Femi Olawole, who is part of this Our Future, Our Choice students campaign. And he was absolutely clear, and I think he was right, that both the main parties are actually letting us down at the moment. The government, frankly, this is all about holding the Tory party together, and the Labour Party, they are just hoping the government fails and they'll sort of waltz into power on the back of it. But we're talking about the most important issue facing the country, and we have neither Labour nor the Conservatives actually saying, this is what it means, this is how we're going to do it, this is where we're different. And so I think this is why I agree with what Andrew Adonis said this morning. I think there is a change of mood because I think we're now, 19 months on, no agreed plan, having to take everything on trust from charlatans like Johnson. And I think the public are just starting to get, frankly, very
you and Andrew Adonis talk an awful lot, Adonis, about this change of mood. I've not been witnessing this, and certainly the polling, overall polling that tracks people's long-term views and long-term trends, isn't showing anything. But this is the issue. So you talk about, that Boris Johnson's the wrong person to bring the country together. But is the way to bring the country together is to ask for a second referendum? Now, the man you were just backing, you're talking about young people who've set up a campaign, Our Future, Our Choice, and it's been set up for young people who believe Brexit should be stopped, because the argument is, well, we're the people who are going to have to suffer Brexit, not old people like you and me. Now, I'm 49. I'm planning to live. I'm planning best part of another 50 years, mate. This is going to be my future too. Don't you think that a call for a second referendum, when we haven't even enacted the results of the first referendum, is the most divisive thing anyone could possibly be calling for? And you're calling for it.
Well, I'm saying that if the country decides at any point that the Brexit that was offered is actually not the Brexit that we're having, if they start to think that we actually don't know what we're leaving to, then they're entitled to have, I don't think it is a second referendum, it's a fresh referendum on the deal. What is the deal that the government is coming back with? And what these speeches are showing is that the reason they can't bring the country together is they can't bring the cabinet together. The cabinet is fundamentally divided. It's not just divided in two sections. There's about 4 different factions in there. And the fact that Theresa May, in this over-choreographed, and look, everything Theresa May plans sort of goes to dust fairly quickly, and I suspect this will as well. This over-choreographed series of speeches, it's the reason she's let Boris Johnson take the lead on it is because since June the 24th, 2016, she's effectively being run by the right wing, the anti-European wing of her party.
Well, hold on a minute. If that were the case, then we wouldn't be looking at the sort of negotiation position that we've got at the moment. No, but you just talked about this, not a second referendum. You could argue it'd be a third referendum because the second referendum was the one we had in 2016 after 1975. But you say a fresh referendum on the deal because the British people need to know what they're choosing. But you weren't keen on referendums when we were busy handing over British powers to the EU. And Remainers like you seem to have two different lines of defence. Before the EU referendum, referendum in 2016, it was all, but the EU has no power over us. We run our own country. We're sovereign. There's no need to leave the EU. It's all fine. And now you're saying we can't possibly leave the EU because we're so entwined. It's so difficult to leave. But they can't both be true, can they?
Julia,
I mean, talking about people lying, one of those is a lie.
Let me say what I think and not have you misrepresent it. I am simply saying that we had the referendum, June the 23rd, 2016. Your side won, my side lost. Fact. Since then, the reason why this is proving so difficult is because I think that Theresa May and the more sensible members of the cabinet, amongst whom I do not include Boris Johnson, for this is all a gigantic sort of ego trip for him, desperate to be Prime Minister, the sensible members of the cabinet are realising that it is impossible to get a deal better than the one that we've got. And that is why what's happening at the moment is reality is crashing into all the lies and delusions.
But of course it's easier to get a deal that's better than we've got, because the British people have told you we don't want the deal we have where we have a European court that has final say over our laws. We don't want to have free movement. We don't want to have various issues.
If I may say so, Julia, this is you rerunning the referendum. I'm actually saying when she comes back with a deal, this is going to be such a huge thing for the future of our country. I'm simply saying that the country should be entitled to express a view on that.
Why did Why did you not think that the country should be entitled to express a view on the Lisbon Treaty? Why did you not think you weren't in favour of an EU referendum at all?
I noticed that you don't want to talk about now. You want to go back to the past. Let me just
No, I am talking about now. What I don't understand is why people who have no interest in there being a referendum for 40 years, when people were demanding a referendum, certainly for the last 5-10 years, why do you suddenly care so much about what the people think? You don't even respect the result that we had in 2016, when more people voted for Brexit than have voted for anything else in this country ever.
Can I answer? Listen, why don't you become one of those American programs that just wear the radio?
You've had plenty of time to talk, love.
You want me to answer the question? Can I answer it?
Go ahead.
With my words. Thank you so much, Julia. Now, in the spirit of Valentine's Day, let's have less interruption and let me make the point I'm going to make.
Poor
okay?
little Alastair.
So, darling, all I'm saying to you is that we've had the referendum and your side won and my side lost, and that is fully accepted. We're now seeing so much more that we didn't know then that I think is beginning to concern the public.
What didn't we know?
Let me finish. Can I finish?
No, what didn't we know? You can't make a statement like that. What didn't we know?
We didn't know. Well, for example, we didn't know. We were told there was going to be more money for the health service. We just had the biggest winter crisis in our history.
No, that wasn't. That wasn't what was written. Oh, Alastair, you've been a director of communications at Number 10. You know perfectly well that wasn't what was written on the side of a bus. Go to the next thing. Come on. What else didn't we know that you're claiming we didn't know?
We didn't know that it was going to cost tens of billions.
Well, it doesn't have to cost tens of billions. That's because our silly government's handed that money over. What else didn't we know?
Can I finish a sentence, Julia? Is that possible?
No, what else didn't we know?
Can I finish a sentence?
Carry on.
Silence doesn't make for good radio, but I will stay silent for as long as you keep interrupting.
But you keep making these statements without backing them up with facts.
I keep making the statements which I can't back up because you can't let me make a point.
All right, carry on then.
Without you
carry on.
putting your nose in.
Carry on.
You're going to be quiet for a moment.
I'll be quiet.
Right. The reason, and the thing about public opinion, the Labour Party talk about public opinion like it's the weather. Well, it hasn't changed, therefore we won't change. Public opinion isn't like the weather. At the moment, you have the government, Labour, and most of the media saying it's a done deal. I'm saying to you that if the public thought there was an alternative route for this, I am convinced that they would take it. And we do have, I'm afraid, we have a very pro-Brexit media in the main. We have both government and Labour lined up saying this has to happen. And I'm saying democracy is not a moment. It did not end on June the 23rd, 2016. And if, like me, you believe the country is embarked on a catastrophic course, I'm entitled to say so. Those young people are entitled to fight for it. And I believe the reason why these speeches are happening, the reason why there's a little bit more exasperation in your voice and those of your colleagues, is because you know that public opinion will turn the moment people think there is a different route to take.
Do you know what I think? I think public opinion is turning. I think public opinion is there are people that like me very cross with the government for not leading and not sort of proudly leading our negotiation position and just handing over money for nothing, which I think is absurd. But I think the main reason public opinion is turning against the EU because people see the EU as not a friend and an ally now, but a body that's trying to punish us for making a democratic decision.
But I've said this to you before. Once it becomes clear that we're leaving, then as far as the European Union is concerned, they have, if you like, have to protect their own interests. That's what a negotiation's about. We're seeing the same in relation to the negotiations over Northern Ireland at the moment.
But their interest would be a free trade deal with one of their biggest trading partners. So why are they not going for that?
Be, but
it is.
Because they realise, contrary to the lies told by Boris Johnson and his ilk, they don't need us more than we need them. Half of our trade are almost dependent on the European Union, or with the European Union, 8% of theirs. I mean, they'd rather have it than not have it. But this global Britain that he's talking about today, these deals with China, these deals with India and the rest of it, do you not think that China, India, America and the rest of them, they are going to want deals with the European Union, which is going to be a far, far, far bigger
of course,
market.
they would rather if we stayed in. But funnily enough, we don't believe that our country should be run by what China wants. Alastair, time's against us. Can I ask you one final question? Do you think, well, there are two questions actually combined. Do you think, A, Brexit will ever happen, and B, that we'll have a second referendum?
I think as things stand, it is likely, simply because all the weight of politics is lined up in that direction. But I still think it's there to fight for. And I don't think it's a second referendum. It would be a fresh referendum on a new question. Frankly, I wish Parliament would actually just stand up for what most MPs know to be right, which is to stop this nonsense. But they're not doing that. There's no sign of it. And the second thing, Julia, can you make me a promise that you will get one of these Our Future, Our Choice guys on to talk to you?
Do you know what? It's actually been on my list since last night. I'm absolutely going to get them up. Tell you what, send me a DM and we'll get them on as soon as we can. Alastair Campbell, it's always a pleasure sparring with you. Former Director of Communications to Tony Blair.